One, two, one, two.
Ja, det är lyd.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third quarter presentation on Ocean Sun. As on all quarterly presentations, we give a short introduction to the company and the purpose of our activity. And then we will have the update on our operations and business development within the sector. And finally, of course, the latest financial numbers. So the rationale for Ocean Sun is the ever increasing demand for solar energy and tremendous expansion in the manufacturing capacity for solar panels. All analysts agree that solar is going to become the largest source of renewable energy production in the upcoming years. Then the problem to be solved is the access to surface, to land, for the many square kilometers needed for the large utility solar farms. These are the most efficient way to deploy the solar, and then the advent of floating solar technology. This is our area, and it is based on our patented technology to solve this technological challenge. This is done by deploying these large floating membranes that are suspended in the flotation collars and anchored, very similar to what you can find in fish farming and aquaculture industry. The main attributes of technology is the low capital expenditure for the floating system or the vessel, and achieved through the efficient use of materials and the amount of polymers going into the floaters. It also enables a very fast and easy installation of the solar panels, which are modified for this particular purpose, also by removing the traditional extruded aluminum frame surrounding these panels, also then cutting on the material costs for each panel. And it enables a very lean transportation of the large membranes that can be folded and rolled, packed inside the 40-foot transportation container, enabling us to make discs up to 75 meters in diameter, holding up to 0.7 megawatts installed power on each of these rings. It also gives a higher efficiency than the traditional air cooling of the solar cells. With the thermal contact directly on these thin membranes, we obtain a very efficient heat dissipation to the water body, thereby enabling a higher voltage across the solar cell and a higher energy yield. Due to the flat and horizontal nature, it can also withstand the high winds, and by minimizing the wind drag on the entire system, and then thereby also optimizing the anchoring and the mooring required for the station keeping of the solar power plant. I can also add, not mentioned here, but these are large surfaces of this completely watertight membrane that act as a water catchment area. So in islands and deployed on saltwater, we can accumulate the precipitation and for use for fresh water. And conversely, on the hydropower reservoirs, it also prevents the evaporation of fresh water into atmosphere. So it's many benefits with this technical solution. So now, with that introduction, we'll move to the ongoing operations we have and also the new projects that are coming up. This is a picture from the Philippines. The North Island, Luzon, where we have now been operating for 4.5 years. It's a 300 kilowatt floater on the Magat hydropower reservoir. It's connected to the power station there, and it's also a reference system on land for comparison of these technologies. It's consistently delivering, outperforming the air-cooled reference on land, and very interesting results for now several years. Also developing operation and maintenance of this, and the operators were starting to become familiar with this system. We also collaborate here with the Norwegian developer Scatec, and in a governmental funded research project called HydroSun also. Also, the Banja plant that you saw on the very first page, the 2 megawatt project with Statkraft in Southern Europe, is also operating nicely. As we speak, we are building a new demonstration unit at La Palma. It's a Canary Island for a system on nearshore deployment in Atlantic. It will be commissioned within this year. It is in the so-called European Union funded project BOOST, which is an acronym for Bringing Ocean Sun System to the Market, and it's a collaboration with Fred. Olsen Renewables and other entities in Spain. And we have this will be a very interesting new saltwater deployment this year. We also have materials arriving on site for an inland demonstrator on a lake, also on the Iberian Peninsula, which the construction will start very early next year. This is for an non-disclosed large energy company. About the other projects that we have already entered contracts with, this is with the Keppel Infrastructure in Singapore and also with EDPR Sunseap in Singapore. Unfortunately, we see some delays in that those Singaporean near-shore demonstration units. This is a completely new technology. There are many authorities and things to resolve, but and some of these are outside our control. But these were supposed to be constructed this year, but we see some delay there, and we'll probably see that early next year. It's important also to say that these part payments have been honored in these projects, and there is yeah. So also in Greece, there has been some difficulty with it has to do with yeah, permitting and also grid connection. We hope to resolve these delays also shortly, but partly, like I said, outside our control. And that is for the 2 times 2 megawatt peak installation, consists of 8 of these discs. And nearshore, not far from the capital Athens. Also worth mentioning, a few weeks ago, this is the result from I would say, a patent infringement case with another Norwegian entity, and where we reached a favorable settlement agreement. And we are now joining forces, and the company Insenergy will help out to support the very fragmented market within the fish farming sector. And these are we have the feeding barges, typically driven by diesel generators, and where we can have the addition of the floating solar. But we are talking about relatively small and many installations along the coast, not only in Norway, but also internationally. Yes, a couple of weeks ago, Ocean Sun made a very important progress at the high-level meeting in New Delhi, India. There's a picture from the MNRE. This is the Ministry for the Renewable Energy in India, and we signed the Memorandum of Understanding together with SJVN Green Energy, which is a major energy supplier in India, and also another MOU with the company Anert of Kerala. These are operators of more than 60 hydropower dams just in the region of Kerala. It's on the southern tip of India, and with a region with dense vegetation, and ideal for deployment of the floating solar. There are great plans for increase in renewable energy production in India. It's currently a high portion of coal-fired thermal energy production in India, and also worth mentioning, India is the host for the G20 initiative, and among those renewables is very high on the agenda in the meeting in Goa earlier this year. So there is a tremendous market potential along the coast of India, and also on the many water bodies in that country. We hope to assist many of the large energy companies in India to achieve this. It's a great initiative. So I think with that we can pass the word to CFO Karl Lawenius. Thank you.
Thank you, Børge. Yes, as Børge mentioned, it's a great interest and a lot of activity on the market side. And when it comes to the financials, we also see a jump in Q3 with larger revenues in Q3 than in the earlier this year, and also compared to the quarter last year. It ended up at 6 million NOK. It consists of revenue from this inland demonstration project that Børge mentioned, and from contribution revenue related to Boost, SkatteFUNN, and Green Platform. We have this inland demo project on a slightly different setup than we are used to or have had historically. It's a turnkey project, meaning that we deliver it installed. We do the engineering, we do the sourcing, and we do the installation with the help of subcontractors. And this has worked very well so far. We have all the material on site, and we have had an effective routine for sourcing this. When it comes to the cash position, it remains strong with 44.2 million at the quarter close. And as we see that this is very positive, and it leaves us in a good position to go forward. And then we're up for Q&A. And as always, I'll read the questions that you have posted. The first question is, how does pipeline versus sea farms look like? When expect to sign first customer agreements?
Yeah, we have a good hope that this can happen shortly. There is a very strong market for these diesel-driven feeding barges, stationary, that involved in the feeding of the salmon. And I think just in Norway, there's many hundred sites that can benefit from increased renewables in that to reduce their fuel consumption and also the emission reduction. So I think legislation also will open up for this in the future. I hope so.
Then we have a question coming in over mail earlier this morning, and it's regarding the status of the SPIC project in China.
Yes, the SPIC, the State Power Investment Corporation, where we had this, I would say, R&D activity, experimental test system connected to this monopile wind turbine. And this is now in development, and have a continued dialogue, and most likely it will be then doubling the size of these floaters, most likely a 0.5 megawatt unit that will be tested next year.
Very good. And you have earlier communicated that you can reach a cash positivity in next year. Do you still think so?
Yes, this market is becoming stronger and stronger, and there's still this is our firm belief that we can towards the end of next year reach cash positive in Ocean Sun. Yes.
Then there's a question saying floating solar is huge already. How can you convince us that your design patent is the best?
Yes, I think you need to look at the demonstration units. You need to compare these technologies and the bill of material, and also the ability and the flexibility to deploy them also in near shore ocean waters, and also when looking at, for instance, the hydro power dams with large level fluctuations, water level going up and down, the mooring and the anchoring principles in our system is superior to the more mainstream pontoon style systems. So that is my answer to this. There is a fierce international competition in the market for the various technologies in FPV, and we are in firm belief that we have the best technical solution for the problem.
And we've also conducted some research comparing our system to competitors, seeing increased power production and
and especially in the lower latitudes.
Yep. And then there's a question regarding how we should make money.
Yeah,
I guess it's a question
if there is any doubt about the business model in Ocean Sun, this is based on revenues from a small license fee per megawatt peak installed of this technology. And there are also other sources revenue from feed studies, front-end engineering designs. There are many companies that do pre-project activity for this. And where possible, if it is also an opportunity to take part in SPV construction or special purpose vehicles for solar plants. So that is another possibility.
Yep. And will the cooperation with Synergy provide quick income?
Say again, please.
Quick income. I guess it's quick results, or
Well, yes, we think
Generating.
there is no doubt that solar is increasing rapidly. You can just also look at the manufacturing capacity of the solar panels. And floating is going to be an increasing larger portion of those deployments. That is without question when you look at the totality of solar energy.
yes, and then there's a question about the targeted license fee and per megawatt. And I don't think we don't disclose the exact amount, of course, but Børge, we can give a range.
I think has been in one number has been 5 cents per watt peak has been one, but in very large power plants, of course, this is a negotiable number.
And then multiply that with the amount of megawatts, and so 5 cents is $50,000 per megawatt, and then just multiply with the size of these systems now coming out tenders of 100, 200, 300 megawatts, and that's the revenue potential of just one project.
Yeah, and that amounts, of course, to fantastic numbers and very good revenues for Ocean Sun. It's important to understand we are still in a phase where the market is adopting to this relatively new technology, and most of our systems are essentially demonstration systems. Even the 2 megawatt we have in the south of Europe is essentially a pilot or demonstration unit, although a 2 megawatt solar power plant is a quite sizable installation.
And then how can you participate as owner in projects? Will you raise equity to be able to do so?
This will be discussed where the opportunities exist. Many of the companies we collaborate with are 100% owners of these power plants, and it's not always private initiatives that develop these floating power plants.
And it's also quite common that the actors that brings a lot on the table, like we do, the technology realizing some of these projects, are offered equity without or offered a stake in the SPV without providing equity.
Yeah, that can be. The license fee can, of course, be traded for a stake in the SPV where applicable.
And I think that was the last question.
Okay, so with that, I think we can say thank you now for the third quarter presentation, and we'll see you again at the full year report in February, is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Goodbye.